More adult children, or can we call them children then? More adults are living with their parents. Whether it's to save money for their first house or to help while studying or just in between jobs, the bank of mum and dad is heavily leaned on. New Zealand's Stats Household Economic Survey shows this type of household has grown by more than 100,000 since 2004. It's the fastest growth of any household. And most parents have no problem helping their children. Some charge a minimal amount to help with the bills, but others ask for nothing. But at what age should that growing child start chipping in? And do things change when they, say, get a job? Why are they still there? Lynda has worked as an accountant since the age of 17 and went back to university to add a psychology degree in 2010. She wanted to better understand the behaviour around money. The financial coach now leads Money Mentalist as a director, and she joins me now. Lynda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do you wouldn't have an adult child living with you, would you?
I don't. It's the other way around. I'm the adult child living with my mother.
Oh. Oh, okay. So you're in with your... I gather it's you're helping out your mum in her older years, or she moved in with you, or?
No, what we've done is we've relocated from the North Island back to our roots in the South Island. So we've bought a property together, and where my little house is being built. So while we're waiting for that to happen, I'm flatting with my mum.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, Lynda. And that's great considering we're talking about living with your parents. What's that like? How's that working out for you?
Well, it's funny. Lots of people ask me that, but Mum and I have, I'm an only child. Mum and I have always got on incredibly well. And when we decided to do this move, we knew there would be a period of time that we would be living in the same house. But I guess because we've got a very clear end date, 3 weeks now before I move out again, it's worked really well. It's like I take over the kitchen. Mum, don't cook. I'm doing all the cooking. And she's going, oh, great. In fact, she's now saying to me, when you move out, can I still come for dinner?
Oh, nice. Oh, well, I'm glad it's worked out. That's brilliant. Hey, so and I know each situation is different as to why an adult child has either moved home or is still being financially supported by their parents. At what point, though, do you think parents or mum or dad or whoever should start stepping back from them financially?
Well, I think it can get to that very serious point where mum and dad aren't looking after their own financial future and their own financial security because they're too busy looking after their children. And, that certainly is the tipping point. If they're looking down the barrel of retirement and all of their savings are disappearing because of an adult children, you've got a very serious situation. And that's where it gets, you cannot leave it any longer. But by the time it gets to that point, it's probably been going on for years. The longer it goes on, the harder it is to have that conversation.
Yes, I mean, because you've said financial dependence can become emotional. So is there a lot of guilt that parents might feel to say no to their grown child?
Look, there can be that. There can also be emotional blackmail on the other side. If I leave home, where am I going to go? I'm going to be homeless and I'll never talk to you again. There's those kind of conversations. But equally as much, the parents can kind of play that game as well. And that's where it starts to get more emotionally based than rationally based, which is, if this is the circumstance that we're in and there's a reason we're doing this, and basically we're actually rubbing along together fine, why can't we actually formalise it like a tenants and a landlord kind of thing?
Yeah.
Just because it's family, it's really no different than having a boarder or renting out your house or something like that.
I like that idea because you're right. It gives it more like you said, just because we're related and you're my mum or dad, why can't we build like a little agreement so at least we know there's rules to it. Am I going to be here for a year? Am I going to be here 2 years? Or what do you need? What can you give to the house? Can you get groceries? And if you can't, help me around the house. Like, I know it sounds a bit silly, but is that kind of what you're talking about?
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, because it doesn't always necessarily have to be a finance exchange. It could be a time exchange. It could be I'm going to mow the lawns to save you having to pay someone to do it, or I'll be your housekeeper. When my daughter moved back home from overseas, that's what she did, because I somehow missed that, fanatic cleaning gene, and she's got it. And so within a week of moving back home, she's down at the supermarket, spent $300 on cleaning products, which I didn't know what half of them actually did, but she did.
Good.
And that's what she did. So for when she first came back, before she got a job, she became the housekeeper.
I like that. She was paying her way that way.
And that worked really well. She was paying her way that way.
So, Lynda, when, though, is there signs say that parents might be enabling rather than helping their kids financially?
Yeah, and I think this is kind of the thing where you still got your adult children are still living at home, and they've got a better lifestyle than you have.
Right.
To me, that would kind of be, where I would start to draw the line is if they're swanning off for weekends away, or they're out to dinner all the time and socialising, and I'm sitting at home going, oh, I haven't had a holiday for 2 years because, I don't feel that we can. That's, I think, when it starts to, again, that's another one of those flipping points where you start to really look at the situation and go, hang on a minute, is this now benefiting both of us, or is one side getting more benefit than the other?
Like when you realise you're actually subsidising their lifestyle, you realise.
You're subsidising their lifestyle. And I love my daughter dearly, but I drew the line at subsidising her lifestyle. Yeah.
And are there small steps? Because I know, look, personally, I mean, I was out of home at 17. I just, as soon as I could get out, I was out. And to be fair, my mum said you can, I think I went back once at about 19 and lasted about 2 weeks, because unlike your mum, me and my mum couldn't do about more than 3 days together. But my younger sister never left. She left home and then she went back again, and basically lived with my mother till my mother died. So she spent 30 odd years with my mother, and it was a very different relationship than what we had and then my older sister had. And we used to talk to her about that too, and say, you're actually not helping her. She needs to stand on her own 2 feet. And it was, Lynda, we couldn't get through to her. She didn't see it that way. She thought that my sister needed the help and that she was there for her come hell or high water. And we just gave up in the end. I mean, how do you do that? And in the end, she was on a pension. Mum didn't have a lot. So I don't know how you get it through to some parents that they're not actually helping their child.
And this actually, sometimes you have that conversation and you just have to agree to disagree, because what you're actually starting to get into there's a behaviour pattern going on. But behind every behaviour, there's a whole heap of beliefs and there's a whole heap of values. And for whatever reason, your mum decided that your sister really needed that help and support, where for some reason she saw the other two as being super independent and not needing it. So there's always, exactly. So there's always
Completely
these
different
belief structures that go on. And again, I mean, I'm an only child, so I don't have siblings, but I know from other clients with children, they do, despite the fact they say we treat all our children the same, quite often they don't, because there's different, there's all these different stories and different things going on in the background. So sometimes in that situation, that could have exploded in a really horrible way. For example, if you were concerned that your sibling was getting all of the money and you were getting nothing. So this is where it starts to really get quite tricky. But the whole thing is, it's the younger you start having the conversations, the easier it becomes to have them as an adult. But if you've got one party who just cannot change, then it becomes more around setting boundaries.
And if parents are helping their kids, financially, and I understand why they do, and is it ever too late though to set new boundaries? Because you said you've got to have that conversation.
Yeah. Well, again, you've got to be, if you've got a really, and I'll use the word powerful, strong-natured child who has always had their own way since day dot, then it's going to be very hard to start having that conversation with them as a 35-year-old or 40-year-old if you haven't put boundaries around them, around anything, let alone money. So, the older they get, the harder it is to have that, because they kind of go, well, it's been working fine till now, why should we have to change kind of attitude?
Mm.
Because they haven't necessarily seen anything wrong with it. And quite often, to be honest, it is a third person that needs to come into that conversation to try and take some of that intense emotion away and actually get back to the rational, which sometimes is getting the spreadsheet out and going, well, hey, this is what we've got coming in and this is what we've got going out.
Yeah.
You know, we literally can't do this anymore. So, and that's really hard because that's pride as well as, you know, you've got all these other emotions that start layering on top of it when you have to start to get to that level. Sometimes it's just move out, you know, it just really depends on that family relationship.